Thank you. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be piloting our electronic voting little thing. We're going to still do voice votes just because we're not too sure how it'll work. We're testing it out for the first time. But in the second, we'll put up the QR code. So if you didn't already use the link in your email, which you can also use to join the iClicker event, we'll put up the QR code in a second. Just scan it on your phone and you'll be able to join it. But that's only for voting senators, please. So if you're not a senator or voting member of the Senate, then please don't join the event. But with that said, we'll begin with skip that one. We'll begin with the swearing in of the newly elected Chancellor of Elections, Gabriel Heredia. If you'd come up to the front, please.
All right. Thank you very much for having me, Speaker. It's on. Oh, right.
Sorry, let me pull up your oath real quick.
No, it's okay. No worries.
Will you please repeat after me? I do affirm to faithfully execute the office of Elections Chancellor
and support the Constitution and bylaws of the Student Government Association.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the purposes of announcements, does any individual seek recognition? Secretary Leone, you're recognized.
All right. I wrote down what I'm gonna say because I want to keep this under 2 minutes. So if it looks like I'm reading a script, I am. All right. So for y'all who don't know me, since I wasn't here last week, I'm Dale, Secretary of Finance. I'm actually gonna resign tomorrow. I'm graduating for the end of the fall semester, so the deadline's actually tomorrow. So my announcement is, so I stand before you guys all. My last, announcement, all that fun stuff. I'm actually the most senior member of this organization. Having been here since fall of 2022, I've served this body as a senator. I was vice president last year with Colin Humphreys, and most recently as Secretary of Finance. I'd hoped to leave on a note of reflection, but the university administration has spent the day attacking the very people it is supposed to serve. At 2 p.m. today, while we were in class, the university was in a courtroom at the Hampshire Superior Court. I reviewed the arguments made by the Associate Counsel Michael Berry-Hoban to justify the ongoing suspension of our peer, Kibdi Montebello, who the SGA supported of Resolution 9 last semester. In his filings, Hoban told the judge that allowing Kiv back into his classrooms would, and I quote, impose significant hardship on the university and all of its staff and students. Let's look at the facts. This body, the elected representatives of the undergraduate population, granted by the Wellman document, formally passed a resolution demanding that all conduct charges against Kiv be dropped. We did that because we recognized that his suspension was an act of selective retaliation. When the SGA passes a resolution, we're speaking for the students. So when Michael Berry-Hoban stands in a courtroom and claims that Kiv's return is, quote, a hardship for us, he is actively and knowingly lying to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts about our interests. He's using your names, us students, as a legal shield to justify the destruction of a student's future and life. If admin cannot represent our interests correctly to a judge, how can we take them seriously on any shared governance issue? The judge has taken this matter under advisement, and a follow-up hearing will be scheduled shortly. I'm calling on every member of the Senate to attend that hearing in Northampton. When the judge looks out from that bench, they need to see the very students Hoban claims are being harmed by kids' protests. They need to see that we do not view our peer as a hardship, but instead stand as witnesses to this administration's overreach. This is a professional disgrace, Anyone who views the Bill of Rights as a hardship and student democracy as something to be ignored has no business representing a revolutionary university. I refuse to leave this seat while a highly paid lawyer uses our names to misrepresent us to a superior court judge. I'm unsure. I'm sure university relations will try to cook up, some rebuttal to what I'm saying tonight, but the legal record speaks for itself. By misrepresenting the student interest to the Superior Court, Mr. Hovind has breached the trust required for his office. For the sake of the university's integrity, he should consider whether he can continue to serve in a capacity that requires candor he has failed to demonstrate. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other individual seek recognition to make an announcement? Chair Kim, you're recognized.
Well, okay. Hi, guys. Okay, great. Hey, guys. So real quick, me and Rue, we're the leaders of UMass Phenom, which is an RSO on campus. On March 2nd, which is a Monday coming up in just a few weeks, we are going to be organizing a visit to the State House to advocate in support of a $4 billion authorization of the BRIGHT Act. This will be an increase from the 3.6 billion. Oh my God, 3.6 billion planned in the current allocation. We've been reaching out to state senators and other members of leadership in the legislature, and we want to see this happen. We want to see the, I believe, $12 billion deferred, deferred maintenance bills in our state actually be paid for. We want to see our public campuses across this amazing state be supported financially. This doesn't include just like the UMass system. It also includes community colleges. And if we can get as many people as possible to, go to Beacon Hill for a day, visit their legislators, or, just talk to the people who represent UMass, that would be amazing. We're looking for as big a showing as possible. If you're interested, you want to send a written testimony, if you just want to donate some of your time on that amazing Monday, please reach out to me or Rue. Did I cover everything? Or
just a few things. It's not only just for deferred maintenance, it's also for decarbonization on campus, as well as fixing a lot of the let's say not as seemly buildings on campus. And a lot of this money could go towards fixing accessibility. A lot of the campus buildings here are not very accessible. Are we taking questions?
Yeah, questions.
Can we get some of this money to better the Memorial Building? I know Peter and Ava are working on this.
I direct that question to Peter or Ava. As far as I've heard of last Monday, there were no current earmarks planned for buildings at UMass or otherwise.
Yeah, but we do plan on filing amendments to increase funding towards, I think specifically UMass, a 31 million allocation, which would be heavily beneficial for us. That is if we can get student support behind this, is very tall. And this is also important because it directly impacts the amount of student fees that people get on their tuition bills. Even if you don't care about deferred maintenance or decarbonization, this is a good opportunity to lower that number on your bill.
Any other questions? Nope. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Before we continue with announcements, I'd like to invite up Elections Commissioner Jacob Holohan to take the oath of office. Please repeat after me. I do affirm
I do affirm
to faithfully execute
to faithfully execute
the office of Elections Commissioner
the office of Elections Commissioner
and to support the Constitution and bylaws of the Student Government Association.
and to support the Constitution and bylaws of the Student Government Association.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does any other individual seek recognition to make an announcement? Senator Siegel, you're recognized.
Hello. Well, hi everybody. So for last week's Senate meeting, myself, as well as Senator Wu, Secretary Nevins, Secretary Leone, Trustee Marino, put forward a resolution condemning U.S. attack on Venezuela and calling for folks on campus to consider, actions of non-cooperation with U.S. militarism and U.S. imperialism. Some of the conversation around that we ended up deciding to withdraw that resolution this week because some of the conversation around it we felt like wasn't sort of focused on what we felt like was the real point of the resolution. A lot of it sort of became about sort of minutiae about the Venezuelan government, etc. When really what we wanted to focus on was the ways that militarism manifests itself on campus and the ways that we can fight that. And so we're withdrawing that resolution, but we wanted to invite everybody in the Senate and the student government and activists on campus and from the general public at large to join us in the SGA office at 4 p.m. on Friday for a group work session to write up a really strong resolution focused on concrete anti-militarist policy measures that we could take on campus as the student government and stuff that we can pose to administration and ways to hold administration accountable towards making sure those things happen. So, yeah.
Are there any questions? All right, thank you. All right, you're recognized. Go ahead.
I have a lot of hats. One of my other hats outside of the Student Government Association is I am a member of an a cappella group. It is the Doo-Wop Shop. Upcoming in the next few months, we're looking at the beginning of April. We're actually going to be doing a charity concert, and that proceeds of that concert are going to be going to the Amherst Survival Center. We're doing it in conjunction with them. And really what I'd like to see from this community that we have here, any groups that you know, activism groups, mutual aid groups, or just regular clubs that can come together, do food drives, get food together, get people out to come to the event so that we can bring food to the campus pantry and that we can show solidarity with a community that has been building up so much to support those who are the most needy amongst us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a cappella groups from all over New England, from Connecticut, and even from Maine, hopefully. We reached out to a couple of them. But if you can reach out to your people and get some food drives going, just reach out to me. I'd love to have as many people involved on campus as possible. The campus pantry is a terrific resource, and the more support that we can show them and the more that they can grow, the better. Thank you. Are there any questions? Cool. Oh, yes. Absolutely, I will send a follow-up email. Yes, Senator Tim?
So I know that Doo-Wop Shop does birthday songs for anyone that wants to hire them for their birthday.
Oh,
Would
yeah.
that be in case I wanted to buy a birthday song for my friend?
Like $25.
That's pretty affordable.
We do it for staff if you're a staff member too. It's really funny. Anyway.
Thank you. Does any other individual seek to make an announcement? All right, there being no more individuals, the associate speaker will record the roll call. Before we get into that, if you haven't already connected to the iClicker thing we're using for electronic voting, you can go ahead and scan this QR code. Again, only for voting members of the Senate, so only for senators. If you're a member of the public or the executive cabinet, please do not scan it. Does anyone else still need the QR code? Oh, yeah, sure. I think it's a little back. All right, so while Cody's taking roll, we just started a question for you to enter your name. So whatever device you joined the iClicker event on, if you could go ahead and fill out the text box with your name, that would be appreciated.
Okay. Senator Ashrafi. Senator Bauman. Senator Bauman absent. Senator Belair. Senator Belair present. Senator Breen. Yes. Senator Breen present. Senator Calvo. Senator Calvo present. Senator Chamu. Senator Chamu, present. Senator Chaparro.
Here.
Senator Chaparro, present. Senator Durigi. Senator Durigi, absent. Senator Faciso. Senator Faciso, present. Senator Haycock. Senator Haycock, absent. Senator Hercule Espinal. Hercule Espinal, present. Senator Hirondani. Senator Hirondani, present. Chair Hood. Chair Hood, present. Senator Huang. Senator Huang, present. Senator Kanan. Senator Kanan, present. Senator Keel. Senator Keel, present. Senator Kennedy. Senator Kennedy, absent. Chair Kim. Chair Kim, present. Senator Cohison. Senator Cohison, present. Senator Lamore. Senator Lamore, present. Senator Malari. Senator Malari, absent. Senator Mari. Senator Mari, absent. Senator Martos. Senator Martos, present. Senator Meesum. Senator Meesum, present. Chair Mello. Chair Mello, present. Senator Morales-Aquino. Morales-Aquino, present. Senator Ng. Senator Ng, present. Chair Onyeka. Onyeka, present. Senator Meshwa Patel. Senator Meshwa Patel, absent. Senator Rahi Patel. Senator Rahi Patel, absent. Senator Reeb. Senator Reeb, present. Senator Rogers. Senator Rogers, absent. Senator Roy. Senator Roy, absent. Senator Saini. Senator Saini, absent. Senator Schuette. Senator Schuette, present. Senator Siegel. Senator Siegel, present. Senator Sun. Senator Sun, absent. Chair Seversky. Chair Seversky, present. Senator Teki. Senator Teki, present. Senator Tajwani. Senator Tajwani, absent. Senator Tao. Senator Tao, absent. Senator Tick.
Here.
Senator Tick, present. Senator Torngrip. Senator Torngrip, present. Chair Trong. Chair Trong, present. Senator Valatka. Senator Valatka, present. Senator Valencia Gallego. Valencia Gallego, present. Senator Vender Wilson. Senator Vender Wilson, present. Senator Verma. Verma, absent. Senator Wu. Senator Wu, present. Senator Golu. Golu, present. With 37 voting members, a quorum is present.
You, me, and two more people. 38? Did anyone have trouble with the iClicker thing? Everyone good? Okay, cool. Wait, let's look at the results. All right, I don't know what I expected. Okay. The minutes from the last Senate meeting were sent out 48 hours prior. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved without objection. Does there exist a need to call into session the Committee of the Whole? The Senate will stand in recess, or sorry, for what reason?
SATF fee increase presentation.
Thank you. The Senate will stand in recess and the Committee of the Whole shall be in session to discuss the SATF fee increase pursuant to Title II, Chapter 31, Section 9, subsections 1 and 5. When the Committee of the Whole is called into session, parliamentary procedure is suspended and the Senate may not take any official votes or actions. Chair Trong, go ahead.
But it's too late. We're in committee.
I can adjourn it.
I think we should probably do it first. I mean, they're like outside. And this is probably gonna take like an hour.
All right. Never mind. Committee of the Whole is adjourned. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Faciso, go ahead.
Motion to add business not anticipated to the agenda.
Motion to suspend the rules to consider business not previously on the agenda has been called. The motion is a motion to approve the Korean Student Association's request for $8,119 of the Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Fund. This is sponsored by Senator Facizo, President Borowski, and the DIA Fund Committee. Is there a second for the subsidiary motion to suspend the rules to consider a main motion not previously on the agenda?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of adding this business to the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Those abstaining say abstain. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the subsidiary motion is adopted. And we will place this, or Chair Trong?
Motion to rearrange the agenda.
Motion to suspend the rules to rearrange the order of the agenda has been called. What is the new proposed agenda?
To put the new main motion ahead of S56. So it would be the first motion.
All right. So the new order of the agenda will read unfinished business, resolution 12. Then in new business, it will be S57, which is the motion to fund the Korean Students Association. Then S56, an act to raise the student activities fee, and then R13, which is the new resolution that was submitted to the office. Is there a second for the motion to rearrange the agenda? All right. All those in favor of the proposed agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Those abstaining say abstain. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the rearranged agenda is adopted. So with that, we will move on to there we go. Our unfinished business, resolution 12. The chair will entertain a withdrawal from the sponsorship.
Motion to withdraw the resolution.
Thank you. Withdrawals from the sponsorship don't require a vote. It's in the bylaws that during the factual description, the sponsorship can just withdraw the motion. So the motion is withdrawn, and we will move on to our new business, starting with S57, a motion to approve the Korean Student Association's request for $8,119 of the Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Fund. The sponsorship is recognized for a factual description.
Hey guys. So yes, this is a request that was gone through the DIA committee and was reviewed favorably. It passed unanimously, meeting all of the guidelines. I believe they actually submitted for this same event last year. And they're just going to do a very brief presentation on what this event is, what they need the funding for. However, the DIA committee already reviewed how by the books this was, and we determined that it was in fact up to par. And just for your information, the reason that we have to put this up tonight is because if we waited until the next Senate meeting, it would be before 20 days until their event, and they wouldn't actually be able to use the money we are approving for what they need. So without further ado, I welcome the Korean Students Association.
Thank you so much.
You guys send us your slideshow? Could you send it to us again? We don't have it. The email is sgaspeaker@umass.edu. Quiet, please. We have the presentation. Go ahead.
Right, hi, my name is Jenna. I'm one of the treasurers for the Korean Student Association. And we just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for giving us your time tonight to listen to our DIA grant presentation. Alongside today with me, I have Janelle, our president, Daniel, our vice president, Chris and Chani, my co-treasurers, and Alicia, our lead events coordinator.
So for our grant proposal, we'll be presenting Streets of Seoul, and Streets of Seoul aims to immerse UMass as well as our local community to the vibrant flavors and sights and sounds of Korea. And we feature performances, music, food, and all crucial aspects of Korean culture. And whether you're an individual who shares a connection with Korean culture or want to learn more or just want to experience something new, we hope that this event fosters an environment that promotes and supports cultural exchange. And Streets of Seoul also has been a 2-time Sammy's award-winning event, and we hope to take that momentum into this year.
All right, going into our fundraising plan. So through extensive fundraising, we plan to showcase Korean culture, and we have created specific fundraisers for the fall and spring semesters. And we do around 2 to 3 fundraisers per semester, and they are both beverage and food fundraisers. So going more into depth, in our fall 2025 semester, we did 3 fundraisers, starting with the Dalgona Coffee, which happened on October 7th. And this fundraiser helped increase the spread of Korean culture by letting the UMass community try an older style of Korean coffee that is still popular to this day. And we made a profit of around $500. Continuing on, we had our Chapsa Duck fundraiser that happened on October 27th. And Chapsa Duck is a Korean rice cake that is also given to students prior to the exam as a good luck momentum. And we got around $300. And lastly, on November 20th, we had our pear yuzu tea fundraiser, and this was a nice, refreshing and refreshing and delicious drink that students can enjoy through any time of the year, and we made $250. And then this semester, we plan on having 2 fundraisers, with the first one on March 11th, which is our Sanka Kimbap fundraiser, and on April 7th, we'll be having our Dalgona Coffee fundraiser once again. And then additionally, we do have a Minute Fund fundraiser set up, but we created that last year.
And then as for the marketing plan, our media team has crafted various forms of promotional and marketing materials for Streets of Seoul, such as graphic designs like the ones you can see here, that provide all the necessary information and details regarding the event. Every year, we try to implement a theme to highlight a specific aspect of Korean culture. 2 years ago, we did a retro 1980s theme, and last year we did a pojangmacha or food night market theme. This year, we wanted to incorporate a university theme to give our attendees a glimpse of university life in South Korea. As you can see with the graphics here made by our publicists, we tried to incorporate concepts like ivy-covered university buildings, libraries, books, university seals, and more. From a more design perspective, we wanted to do a grid or block design with different colors, as well as using elegant fonts to give a stronger look and a more sophisticated feel to the graphics. And then if you move on to the next slide, just shows another example of one of the graphics we made for their guest artists, and then a university seal combining with our organization's logo. Additionally, another way that our organization likes to promote Streets of Seoul is through a promotional video. So every year, our historian creates a short movie featuring our own executive board members. And through this video, this also highlights different aspects of Korean culture as it is done through a Korean drama form. So in previous years, we've done Reply 1989 and Perfect Day, which are parodies of popular Korean dramas.
Adding on to that, we have an extensive and organized posting schedule where our creative team manages how our graphics go up, when our reels go up, as well as our promotional video leading up to our event. And on to our next slide. For our logistical plan, planning for this event begins a semester before. And so our logistics team as well as our creative team work hand in hand to make this event possible. So just walking through it really quickly, in October, we finalize our timeline and main components of this event. So reaching out to our AV team, catering, photo booth, as well as our guest artist, and our treasurers begin budgeting. We also plan audition dates for our student performers, and our creative team brainstorms themes, decor, and for our photo booth. In November, we confirm our vendors, and then we have an ongoing process of collecting invoices and submitting those to the school. We also establish a detailed timeline for event day, host our performance auditions, and we also reach out to all of our collaborators and sponsors. And we also finalize all promotional media and materials. In December, we review all of our contracts and we prepare for the spring semester by creating a checklist, and we communicate with all of our advisors to make sure we are keeping up with deadlines, and we finalize our promotional schedule. And then January and February is our bulk of our preparatory work, so that is confirming all our bookings, making sure we have all our schedules in check, as well as finalizing our event timeline and a detailed assignment for each of our executive board members for event day. We also check in with all of our performers, including our student performers and our guest artists. And we post all of our promotional videos and graphics as our promotional schedule showed. And then in March, leading up to event day in March 7th, we finalize all of our logistics once again. We oversee final walkthroughs, creative projects, and our setup.
So we've created a detailed plan for the day of our event, including both setup and our actual event timeline to ensure that everything runs smoothly. Our event will begin at 9 a.m. or our setup begins at 9 a.m. when our e-board members will arrive at the Student Union Ballroom to set up, and this includes putting up the photo booth, decorating tables, and organizing food stands. By 12, we expect to have all AV systems and lighting set up in time for tech times, which will run from 12:30 to 4:30. During this time, our student performance groups, as well as our guest artists, will be able to practice their sets with full lighting and AV. During this time, we also have designated lunch shifts for our e-board members. At 4:30, we'll have a full dress rehearsal, and this will include emceeing student performances, as well as practicing transitions to make sure that we are ready for our event. By 6:15, we expect our catering from Kana to arrive, and we'll set up the food to be ready to be served for our attendees. By 6:30, sound and audio systems will be on standby, and by 6:45, our e-board members will be ready to greet all our attendees for when doors open at 7 p.m. So now moving on to our actual event timeline, doors will open at 7 p.m. And then at 7:20 p.m., we will begin introductions and give acknowledgments to any grants, sponsors, and advisors who have supported us. We will also introduce our gift baskets and grand prize at this time as well, and give instructions to our guests on how to enter these raffles. From 7:30 to 7:50 p.m., our volunteers will begin serving food to both our student performers and our general body members. From 7:50 to 8 p.m., we'll have our promo vid screening, which we talked about earlier. And then from 8 p.m. to 9:20 p.m., we have all of our student performances. From 9:20 to 9:30 p.m., we have a brief intermission where we will shuttle all of our guests to the front of the stage, as well as introduce our guest artist and prepare for her performance. From 9:30 to 11 p.m., we have our guest artist performance, and this includes a 10-minute fan sign from 10:50 to 11. And then finally, our e-board will wrap up the event from 11 to 11:45 by cleaning up.
Next, every year, our organization does our best to work with other businesses and corporations to make Streets of Seoul the best event possible. Through the form of sponsorships, we have collaborated with more global corporations such as Samsung, Poppy, and Calypso, as well as more local businesses such as Antonio's Pizza and Hurl's Ice Cream to provide free goods and services for our general body who attend Streets of Seoul. Every year, we also work with Kana Korean Restaurant, a local Korean restaurant in Chicopee, Mass, who is the catering service that provides the traditional Korean cuisine for Streets of Seoul. Additionally, last year, we brought a guest artist for the first time, in which we collaborated with Kohai, an Asian American artist agency, to bring guest artists private.
So why we applied? So here at the Korean Student Association, we believe in the importance of spreading culture. So this event will be able to uphold this. This event will give the students an opportunity to not only share their culture, but also experience others.
To really achieve this goal at our biggest event of the year, we're really focused on trying to have the best production possible at our event. This means having the best possible equipment for our event through things such as decor, sound and lighting, and of course, as mentioned before, our special guest artist. Alongside these things, we're also going to have student performances, gift baskets, free merchandise, and even a grand prize. And we hope to use these funds to give even more back to our community.
So to give a little more detail of how we'll be using our funding. So on the left, you can see here, that is our Ronin audio production invoice where we will be purchasing lighting and sound equipment. For our lighting equipment, we'll be using this to create a center stage where all the attendees will be able to be fully immersed in the performances. With their sound, we expect a large number of people to be attending. So we know the importance for everyone to be able to properly hear the music and the performances and just get the best experience that they can. On the right, you can see that is our photo booth invoice. So we know the importance of kind of just holding memories and like kind of having physical memorabilia. So with this photo booth, we hope to purchase items that will capture our theme of Korean University and give the attendees the ability to go in, take pictures, and just be able to capture the moment and kind of leave the event with something physical and just be able to enjoy the full experience.
In addition, with our mission of spreading Korean culture, we plan to bring this culture even closer to our campus by bringing a guest artist, Yeo. As time goes on, more and more communities are being introduced to Korean music and especially K-pop. Having said so, the demand has been growing extremely high, which is why, as for many of us who live pretty far from where Korean concerts and performances are held, as well as high concert price tickets, it's a rare opportunity for our student body to experience one, which is why we're planning on bringing our guest artist Yeo, who is a rising artist in the K R&B and K indie space, and bringing this. And she has over 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and this will be a great opportunity for students who've never been to a performance or concert or plans to go one this spring. It will be a once in a lifetime experience for them to go.
All right, and then lastly, we just have a letter of a recommendation from our advisor that she created over the winter break. And we're just gonna hand out a couple copies if you guys just wanna quickly look over it, in case you just can't see the screen. And yeah, thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, please let us know.
Thank you. We'll now open up the floor to questions. Just as a reminder for senators, in the supplemental materials folder, you'll have access to this presentation in case you want to refer to any of the information that was provided specifically. There's also a viewpoint neutrality guide in there, as well as the DIA funding guidelines for you to review. Just to remind all of you, all inquiries made have to be made from a viewpoint neutral perspective. And yeah, we'll take questions now, if there are any. Senator Golu, you're recognized. Can we pass a mic down, please?
Are these all the expenses that are?
So we do have expenses that we are using. We have submitted like our PR, our purchase request for our creative material and things like that. But these are the specific ones that we will be using if we were to get the DIA funding.
Are there any further questions? Chair Mello, you're recognized.
Hi, do you know what the total amount that this will cost for you guys? Just curious about like the percentage of DIA fund that plays into that.
Yeah, so first, kind of to go into more of like the expenses. Yeah, so we have our food catering, which will be around $4,000. Then we have our Yale and then our Ronin and then our photo booths, which will come to around about 9,000. And then with the rest of with our other money, we'll be using to purchase shirts and stickers, which would be around, I'd say like 600, about there.
Chair Trong, you're recognized.
What was the total amount linked in the motion again? Sorry, just can't find it in the motions packet.
It's 8,119. I'll put that in the packet. Senator Huang, you're recognized. Can we get a microphone down there, please?
will you guys be charging for admission?
Yes, so for our admissions, we are charging 13 for pre-sale and 15 for general.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Golu, go ahead.
Is there a limit on like how many people you're gonna accept?
To attend our event. So we have a capacity limit for the Student Union Ballroom of around 450. So we will be selling 450, but that is including our comp tickets for our alumni as well as our performers.
Chair Mello.
Hi, I was curious about who is eligible to attend this event. So, like, are the tickets primarily going to like undergraduate students at UMass? Is it open to 5 colleges, or like where do you see most people coming in from?
So this event is open to all 5 college students as well as anybody from local communities. We've had some professors come as well as their families. So it's really open to all general public, but specifically catered to students in the 5 college community.
Chair Mello, go ahead.
Sorry, just one more question. I was curious about the choice for the audio productions company. Do you know like how you came to that decision to go with that vendor and like where you found that, or like how you chose it compared to other companies or other costs that might have existed?
So we have been working with Ronin and their AV systems for multiple years, and so they always have a special discount for us because of its off season and things like that. So we just believe that this was our best option, and we know that because we've been working with them, that they will provide us with the best equipment, and they've always been there for our event.
Chair Hood, you're recognized.
This might not be a question specifically for you, but I'm not really familiar with the DIA funding process. Do we know, like, I'm assuming they filled out the application in the guidelines. Like, are we able to see that application, or how does that work? Or is that what this is?
Yeah, so I mean, we could, but it's basically all of the information they just presented here. And the DIA committee's job is to just review the application and make sure it is up to the guidelines presented. Much like AA's job isn't to like do a yes or no, but just give a positive recommendation, which in this case the committee did based on the submitted materials on Campus Pulse.
Senator Tick, you're recognized.
Have there been efforts taken to like cut costs where that is like feasible?
Yeah, so we for each of our expenses, we did look at the cheapest option. Like for example, our Ronin and Audio, they gave us an off-season discount, which is significantly cheaper than the other, surrounding available companies. Additionally, for our food, we are working again with Kana, and we have been working with them for many years. So they also are giving us like somewhat of a discount and kind of like the availability for just to be able to use them. So we did look at the cheapest options for each possible expense.
Thank you.
Senator Wu, you have a question?
Hello. Oh, hi. Thank you for the presentation. It's very informative and very structured and organized. I do have one question. I heard that you guys mentioned that some of the expenses will be clothing. Is that correct? For the clothing, I assume you guys purchased it for using your like fundraising funds, right?
That is going through our PRs.
Okay. Will this be like, I guess, given out during the event? Okay.
Yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Senator Lamore, go ahead.
Okay, is this thing? Yep, it's on. When do these tickets go up?
They're actually going up in 2 weeks, so
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? All right. Seeing none, I will entertain a second for the main motion. Does there exist a need for debate? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called and the question is on the passage of S57, a motion to approve the Korean Student Association's request for $8,119 of the Diversity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Fund. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, say no. Those abstaining, say abstain. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion is passed. Congratulations. All right. The Senate will stand in recess and the Committee of the Whole shall be in session to discuss the SATF fee increase. Pursuant to Title II, Chapter 31, Section 9, subsections 1 and 5, when the Committee of the Whole is called into session, parliamentary procedure is suspended, and the Senate may not take any official votes or actions. All right, Darren, now you're up.
All right. First and I'm going to skip introductions. First and foremost, nobody here, everyone get off your phones, shut your laptops, please pay attention. This is really important. Okay, guys, we need to lock in. Okay, thank you. So very brief table of contents. You guys can read it. Okay. Next slide, please. What is the SATF? So quick refresher, it's a mandatory fee all students pay. Currently, it is $286. $186 goes towards student organizations, and $100 of that goes off to paying the student union, which we are paying off $220.40. Title VI is the bylaws that detail the process for how we fund things. Fee account, that's all the money from the SATF going to student orgs that goes into the fee account. Fiscal year from July 1st to the next July 1st. We are in FY26. This ends in this upcoming July 1st, and then afterwards, FY27 will begin. Questions? Okay. All right, this is a brief history of the SATF. So we have FY 2014 at 125, and then 131. 2019, that jumps to 248 because $100 is added to cover the student union renovations. And these are the respective fees for 23 and 26, which we raised last year. This general trend graph here, you can see the amount requested by ESOs is more than we have for revenue. And then this is a general trend graph for RSO budget cut percentages. So you can see here it's about 43% here for 23, drops down a little bit here for FY24 at 30%, and it jumps back up. So here it's about 71% for this year right now. So when clubs are operating right now on campus, they have experienced about a 70% budget cut of what they've requested. And then this is just a breakdown in terms of the percentage for how much we allocated in FY25. And then it's the same thing, but FY26. If there are any questions, please just raise your hand. I know I'm going a little fast. Okay, so for the academic year 24 to 25, this is just a breakdown of previous auditing. We were able to get about 51,000 out of inactive RSOs and back into the SATF. And then this is here is just the utilization rates for the budgets from last year. You can see this, all the percentages are up here. Note for Craft Center and Student Bridges, they did not receive enough funding for certain payroll options. And because of that, they were not able to fully fund their undergrad pay. And so that's why their utilization rate is lower. But they still do utilize all of their funding, or majority of them. And then here you can see the utilization rate for RSOs, emergency funding, DIA, and SGA. And this is for last year. Okay. So I'm paying attention. Perfect. Disclaimer, next two graphs are from last year, requested for this year. And so they are numbers requested by RSOs. In our old system, a big issue is that sometimes people figured out that if you request more after across-the-board cuts, you'd get more back. And so that results in sometimes RSOs inflating their budgets. So here you can see a breakdown of how many RSOs requested, like portion money. So about 147 or 52% requested under $15,000. And then this is a 74% of RSOs requested under $30,000. And this is just to give you a general idea of how much RSOs are requesting. So you can see on this side here, on the, well, I guess you guys on the far side can't see the laser pointer, but on the far right side for RSOs requesting above 30 grand, that's about 75 RSOs out of the 266 that requested last year. Okay, so the across the board cuts for last year, which agencies and RSOs are operating on for this year, are about 49% for agencies, and then for RSOs about 71. And this is more information here for you guys. Alrighty, so the effects to this year's cuts for agencies' budgets. I'm going to talk a little bit here, a general breakdown. Then I'm going to invite up our agency representatives to speak a little bit about the cuts and how they affect them for this year. So we have Source, UMass, Daily Collegian, staffing issues, decreasing in advising capability, medical equipment, coverage of campus events here. So that's a really big one. And then general stuff is staffing and increased closure hours. But again, that's a very broad overview. So I'm going to invite all of our agency representatives in the audience to come up and give impact statements.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Nighttime. Good evening, everyone. My name is Zay Valera. I'm the Director of Student Bridges. And I can explain a little bit more about what numbers you guys just saw, as well as like what cuts we've received. So a little bit about Student Bridges. Student Bridges is a student-led agency that provides access and success opportunities for incoming students, high school students, as well as students that are here. As a reminder, our institution is a land-grant university, and so we are to serve our surrounding communities, and we do that work, and with a focus on our marginalized, identified students. So as stated up here, we did receive cuts that prevent us for student opportunities, as well as what that really means is expansion in our knowledge base. When we're talking about conferences, when we're talking about expanding the way we kind of do our day-to-day work, our skill building for our staff, we were unable to do that. Travel. So a lot of the schools that we work with are in Springfield, Holyoke. And so we are unable to provide transportation to get to these schools and have to pull from other avenues to do so, or expand our bandwidth in the high schools that we work with. Additional to that, and it's not listed up here, we also had to cut our staffing as well. I recently started the position, but before my time, I've only been working at Student Bridges in a year. There was a 3-year gap in directorship, but especially with my add-on, I'm a one-woman show with 20 students. And so we have a lot of breadth of what we accomplish, and we could only accomplish more with the staffing that we need.
Hey everyone, it's me again. Remember me? Hi, Attorney Ben Farrell, interim co-director of Student Legal Services Office, and this is so important. I brought in the big guns, the other co-director, Attorney Emily Daniel. I gave a brief overview of what we do for you guys, but what we do for the entire campus community, I think, is broken down into 3 buckets. One, and the first and probably the most important thing, is representation and giving free confidential legal advice to every fees-paying UMass graduate and undergraduate student, which includes you as a group, RSOs as a group. So it's giving them that free confidential legal advice and low-cost representation in court. That's like our basic pillar. Our second is community legal education. We're out there all the time with Know Your Rights presentations. I do the immigration. Attorney Daniel does housing. We're out there almost every week to student groups, to academic departments. We're out there educating the UMass community about their rights in various areas. And the third is a legal internship. We have one of our interns in the building today. So every semester, 6 undergrads get a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to run a law firm, to be a lawyer on a day-to-day basis. And so we're everywhere, and it's really a quite remarkable resource here on campus for students. 50 years ago, students scratched and clawed and fought to have lawyers here on campus whose sole responsibility, sole authority is to represent students. We don't get a dime of money from the administration. Everything comes from the student activity fee and revenue. Okay? And I think that's vitally important to keep that going. But you're paying for a law firm. And most of what you're paying for in our budget is salaries, which are union negotiated, can't be cut. So what is subject to cut on our budgets is everything else. And so you can hire a lawyer, but if you don't allow them to be licensed to practice law, you're not going to get legal advice. To pay the license fee. If you don't pay for a printer, we can't do our job. For all of these things that are required to be a lawyer is what is subject to these pretty drastic cuts. And so it's really important that we're allowed to do our job going forward. So I don't know if you want to add to that.
Just one other thing, as you're sort of discussing this issue, spreading the word about the existence of the SLSO. We are a resource for all fee-paying undergrad and graduate students. So it is entirely accurate that we are funded by the student activities fee, but the graduate student government also chips in to fund our office through the graduate student government fee as well.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Doherty with Emergency Management, and I'm here on behalf of UMass, our student EMT group. Just a little bit about that service. Many of you probably are already familiar with them. But there is about 150 state licensed EMTs as part of this agency. And our main service on campus is to provide medical support to almost all events on campus, particularly the ones that have met our high risk threshold. As part of that event coverage, we're providing really 2 services. One, an immediate response for minor first aid needs, but then also an immediate response for emergency situations, which also helps us to offset a little bit of the load on the Amherst Fire Department that we work closely with. And so we cover a number of student organization events on campus. All of the fee money goes towards our operational expenses, particularly almost all of our medical equipment, okay? And also goes towards replacement and repair of critical equipment such as stretchers and things like that. It does not cover our payroll for our student staff, okay? So all the students get paid for working those events, and that money comes directly from the event itself. All we charge is for payroll. However, with a 58% cut, that means that we are having to choose between what we're able to put that money towards. It means less gloves, it means less medical equipment. It means that we're not going to be able to serve as effectively as we would like to the standard that is the EMT level in the state of Massachusetts. If we do not find an increase in funds, we're exploring other options, because the last thing that we want to do is not provide this service, this critical service on campus. So one of the alternatives that we are considering at this point is to increase the cost to events to not only cover the payroll aspect, but then to add in some of the operational costs to help fill in that gap. That unfortunately is going to take a hit to RSOs. We don't want to do that because we understand the impact to them. But we're also trying to explore other ways to be sustainable, to provide that critical life safety service to student organizations. I think that's it. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for any of our agency representatives? All right. Thank you guys so much. We're going to move on to the next slide. Oh, yeah. And this is just a breakdown for UMass EMS. That's their budget cuts there. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. All right. Current finances. So this year, due to budget cuts and our projected deficit last year, which has since been resolved. So we are starting from zero. We are A-OK for intensive purposes. Our emergency funding and startup funds has been slashed significantly, 90% plus, from over $100,000 down to $5,000. If any of you guys are in the RSO, you may have gotten an email on Tuesday saying that the emergency and startup fund is open. However, there's only $3,000 open for emergency funding and $2,000 for startup funds. And so on top of that, the SGA budget was cut from the initial requested $379 down to $250. And so what does that mean? That means reduced hours for everyone who's working here, reduced office hours for all students and advocacy for students. That also means that, for example, things that we do like multicultural night, that traditionally would be funded entirely under the SGA. That means we're requesting it through DIA Fund, which means that RSOs can't be requesting that money. It also, yeah, generally speaking, it's not particularly great when we have students who are working a lot more hours than they're allocated, because at the end of the day, we are all full-time students here. Yeah, and then so we got about 25,000 to 38,000 projected to come in from inactive RSOs, like their revenue counts that are inactive. And then we have some good news. The number of RSOs is projected to decrease from 346 to 323. Now, this doesn't mean they're like dissolving. This just means that we are not funding them because 38 of them are moving over to Recwell. More on that in the next slide. And then 9 of them are projected to move over from Greek Life.
Does that number include the 52 new RSOs being added?
Yes.
How much are we funding of each of them now? Club Sports and Greek Life. Like what percentage are we funding for next year?
I'm not sure I completely understand your question. I don't know if you could elaborate.
We're still funding Club Sports, correct?
Yes, we will be allocating $400,000 to Recwell per the MOU. There's a specific slide on that with more details.
So with the inactive RSO revenue withdrawal, is this like a complete, like their revenues are like completely handed over to the SACL Finance? Because I know that there was a lot of issues with groups that I know of with re-registration, and I just want to make sure that just because they had trouble re-registering this past semester, that they're not going to have all their funds like taken.
Yeah, so that's a really good question to clarify. The inactive revenue withdrawal only occurs if your RSO has been active for, I believe it's 5+ years. And so unless your RSO has been inactive for 5+ years, you're not going to have your revenue withdraw. Yeah, did I answer your question?
I'm a little bit curious. How much money are you projecting that we will save from this?
In terms of the Recwell, there's specific numbers coming up on upcoming slides. And then Greek life, I believe it's somewhere between, I think, 10 and 20,000. That's just like off the top of my head. So again, the specific number.
Total per RSO.
In terms of like total like RSO allocation.
Greek life, 10,000 per to 20,000 total or per?
In
club?
total.
Okay,
Total.
cool.
And so I guess to circle back, what are we expecting from the SATF? Like our lovely agency representatives mentioned, if we want to better fund and support agencies and RSOs, we can't be having these cuts. And so as we're, discussing finances, I think that's just something to keep in mind as representatives. Obviously, we have to balance a line between affordability for students, but we also have to balance with supporting student organizations as well. And then a little bit about some of the reforms that are going on. In terms of the SGA funding process, we have that new process that passed last spring. We're in the process of updating additional reforms and having stuff like accountability logs potentially and optimizing in terms of like hours and payrolls. And that's something that I'm working with my counterpart, De Leone, as well as the Office of the President on. Emergency funding this year when we were working and since launched this Tuesday, we really tried to optimize the guidelines and make sure that we have all the information so that RSOs are only requesting explicitly what they need. And then Ways and Means, we're in the process of reforming that committee so then it's more efficient to better support RSOs and agencies on campus. All right, this is the Recwell slide. So for this year, we are funding club sports at 531 and change. Moving forward, so starting July 1st, per the Recwell MOU, we'll be required to provide 400,000. Recwell will be providing 341 and 179 and change, not directly in allocations, but in funding support services. So the net increase for sports would be about $209,000. And that's in addition to all their funding support services, which I have here. So for specific funding support services that Recwell has agreed to provide or will provide in the future, that includes a assistant director, a coordinator for club sports, coordinator for travel and finance, club sports, coordinator for business operations and engagement, assistant director, injury care prevention, coordinator for injury care prevention, club sports program assistants, facility on-site student staffing managers, facility on-site staffing student assistants, Marcom student coordinator, a web developer, content developer, and social media coordinator. And they will also they will also be providing 2 vans with parking and fuel as well, which will better support club sports as a lot of them travel, they're travel heavy on their budgets. Capital project supports, so having an additional storage area with a new shed, and then miscellaneous equipment replacements of up to $5,000 per fiscal year. And then software support as well. And that's what that value is of 341. Any questions?
So help clarify this a little bit more. So under the current system that we had, all club sports would be competing with all the other RSOs. So they would request a very big budget, all the club sports. So I think last year, my number could be wrong, but I believe all the club sports asked through the SATF about $3 million combined. And then we had to do across the board cuts for every RSO. So that is why they got the 531,000. But moving forward next year, we're going to provide the $400,000, and then Recwell is going to provide the other funding sources, and then they're also going to, add the other services that Darren mentioned, like transportation vans and stuff like that. So hopefully that clarifies things, and then that's how we get the increased amount of money for club sports.
Just for clarification, could you explain what happens if club sports needs more money? Does the MOU limit the SGA to only $400,000?
Yes. So not yes to your question, but yes as in I'm responding. So the club sports MOU has mechanisms for the amount that SGA would be allocating to increase. So it would go through like a funding criteria, just like normal RSOs. And then once the RECWA advisory board like approves that would go to Ways and Means to approve it. And I believe it's up to 10%. Anything over 10% requires, I believe, what is called a formal request. And so that process obviously still has to be like finalized as we're moving into next year and future years. That's just like a general breakdown. There is room for an increase in allocations to keep up with inflations, or if there are additional club sports, or et cetera. Alrighty, if you guys were here last year, this might look familiar, but we had consultants come in and audit the SGA and do some benchmarking. And the top row here you can see is us. We were paying $133 per semester for a total allocation of $6 million. And you can see some of our peer institutions, for example, like the University of Oregon at about 20,000 students, they're paying about double of what we are, a little bit more than double, for an increase in allocations. So the amount in terms of what we are paying in respect to our peer institutions is actually lower in terms of like a holistic view, to say the least. So I just wanted to put this in here to give a broad overview compared to how much we are charging students compared to our peer institutions and compared to the amount and level of services that we are providing. Any questions? All right, so for the beginning of this year, fiscal year 26, not clear. We had 343, and then once we use of the long-term reserves to settle the deficit, which again we're in the clear, we're starting at 0, we're good now. That brings us to about 262. And the estimated revenue for the fall semester was about 2.1 million, and the estimated revenue for the second semester, so the spring, is about 1.9 million. So a little less than the fall semester, which means the projected total is about $4 million for the next year, for next fiscal year that we can allocate. And this is a net decrease from the amount that we were able to allocate last year of about $66,000. And so some of the challenges we have, obviously, as I just mentioned, the net decrease in total amounts of allocations that we can provide of about $66,000. But we also have the additional mandatory SATF salaries that have increased from 1 million to about 2.5 million, if I'm not mistaken. And so basically a lot of that is payroll, as previously mentioned, and also because of cuts. So when we cut an agency, for example, let's take like SLSO, for example. I believe they requested about 240, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll just use an example RSO or an example agency. Like if an agency requests, for example, $1 million, and we fund them at $800,000, we're cutting the 200 grand. And so when the salaries like increase, that the cut amount is like added to what we're increasing, if that makes sense. I don't know if I explained that very well. And then also ensuring our new financial system for agencies and RSOs is physically responsible, equitable, and accessible. And then this is just a graphic here. So this is how much we're paying for this fiscal year. This is how much we were paying in 23 and 2019. And then this second column here, as you can see, is the inflation rate from that year up to this year. So from 2019 up until 26, it's about 25%. From 2023 up until now, it's about 9.6%. And so if our SATF was increasing with inflation, that would bring us for 2019 up to about 311, and for 23 up to about 292. So as you can see here, we are actually, our fee is behind on inflation. Any questions?
Hello. Do you have plans to like put this out to like student consultation? Like, I know like it doesn't have I know it's like at the chair's discretion, but I think if we're raising fees, we should probably like get people's like student input on this because we'd be the ones that I guess would be paying it.
I mean, I think speaker debated you can, in terms of like the procedure of whether or not to invoke consultation. But there is a motion later on the agenda to raise it to 7.5 that the Senate can, and I do not believe the chair is invoked consultation. But I'll defer to Chair Kim and the speaker.
No, the motion is going up for vote tonight. So
I'll also add that last year the SGA had this as a ballot referendum asking the student body whether or not they would approve a 7.5% increase of the SATF. Last year that got like almost exactly 50-50 from the student body, and we hadn't done like in my opinion, we hadn't done as an exhaustive like reflection on the status of the SATF and like done as much outreach to like agencies and other student organizations. So I think that the vote, it could be similar this year, or students could be more supportive of an increase to the SATF alongside the Senate's vote to raise it tonight.
Yeah, I can add, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the bylaws just require, if it's more than 7.5%, to have student consultation. I would just add that, I mean, we did consult all the agencies. That's why the agency representatives came here today. I know me, President Borowski, Darren, we met with a bunch of RSOs. So while we haven't done, formal consultation on this, I would say that from my grasp on the situation, most students generally are understanding of the increase of the need to increase the SATF, especially when we're looking at the inflation numbers here showing that if we kept up with inflation since 2019, we'd be at $311. So I think if we decide to do more than 7.5%, definitely, have a ballot question, talk to, the student population and stuff like that. But I hope that answers your question.
yeah, so just to clarify, per the bylaws, the Senate has the authority on its own to raise the fee by up to 7.5%, which is what we're voting on tonight. Additional increases beyond that must be placed on the ballot for approval by students. But to answer the original question, no, this one didn't get student consultation, this specific motion.
There we go, it's working. All right, a lot of numbers on the screen, so I'm gonna break it down very slowly. If anyone's any questions, please raise your hand, and I will do my best to answer them. Okay, so option A, 0% fee increase. So 0% fee increase here would mean we'd be able to, sorry, one second. We'd be able to fully fund the mandatory salaries that is mandated. However, we would be not able to fully fund the operating budgets that are initially we are suggesting or in preliminary discussions with the agencies for level funding for their operating budgets. So for option A, we'd be short about $463,000 in terms of funding for operational budgets for agencies if there's no this looks really bad. If there's no fee increase. What that also means with no fee increase is that Spring Concert would be getting 0 funding from the SGA, which historically the SGA has funded. It also means that RSOs will not be getting the net. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The RSOs will be getting additional cuts potentially because we will be having a net decrease in funding for RSOs due to all the reasons listed before, such as the increase in SATF salaries, inflation, as well as other issues as well. Club sports, I'm going to skip that because that's mandated. And then for emergency funding, it means that emergency funding for RSOs is going to be staying the same, and then we would not be able to provide any emergency funding for agencies. That also means that for capital improvement fund, which would be used by the agencies and the SGA to update equipment. So for example, the SGA potentially could, with capital improvement fund, buy RSO lockers to better support RSOs. Or for example, if WMEA needs to update their recording equipment, that is something that could come through the capital improvement fund that we're slating on creating. Option B, which is the second option, is a 3.75% increase. So that equates to about $10.73, or if you round up, $11. We'd be able to fund the mandatory salaries for agencies with a $320,000 amount under what we would be projected to appropriate to the agencies if we had level funding. That also means we still are at zero for the spring concert, and we have a minor increase of about $9,000 for general RSO funding. But again, that is still below the amount to provide level funding. And by level funding for RSOs, I mean at the level that we are providing for this year with the 70% budget cuts. And then for everything else, it would be, again, like I said before, staying the same in terms of no capital improvement funding, no emergency funding for agencies, and then no increase in RSO emergency funding. Now for the 7.5, which is highlighted in, well, I guess it's green up here, which is what is the motion after this presentation. What that would allow us to do is fund all of the agency's SATF salaries at $180,000 less than what we project for level funding for their operating budgets. $0 for spring concerts. Still behind, so the additional $6,000 towards RSO allocations, but again, we're still under that amount for level funding. And by level funding, I mean at the cut percentage we are operating at right now. And then with agency and emergency and capital improvement, it would be the same as with the other two options I have listed. And so I don't think it's being projected very well here, but basically anything under option E is in red because that means we are not fully funding the agencies for their operating budgets, for level operating budgets. We're not providing level funding for RSOs. We do not have increase in capital improvement funding. RSO emergency funding is staying the same, and there's no allocations for capital improvement funding. So that's everything from option E to option A. Now, option F to J, that's a little bit more optimistic. However, for intensive purposes, we are only considering the 7.5. But I'll just go through the other options just so everyone knows we're on the same page. So if we put an additional 7.5 on the ballot, which would bring it to 15% in total, which would equate to about $42.90 or $43 for the academic year, we'd be able to provide level funding for agencies, as well as with their operating budget. We'd be able to provide partial funding for spring concert at about $80,000, which would be down from $250,000 for this year, and obviously a decrease from the years prior as well. It would mean RSOs would be getting the same amount of allocations that they have received this year. It means that the SGA budget is staying the same, club support staying the same, and a slight increase for the agency and RSO emergency funds. So it would be going up from $5,000 to $14,000, and that $14,000 would be split between the agencies and RSOs. And then we'd be able to allocate $5,000 into the capital improvement fund. And I didn't mention this in the other options, but if you look here on the bottom right of the screen, you can see it says like $89,000 about towards our LTR, which is our long-term reserves. You may be wondering, if we are short on so much money, why are we allocating so much money towards long-term reserves? The reasoning for that is because, as on their previous slides, we have about $262 in our long-term reserves. And so if we have anything unanticipated come up, that may not be enough to potentially cover that, depending on how unforeseen and how large that expense is. And so $89,000 is about 3% of our starting balances for what we bring in for the Student Activities Fund. And so Psycho Finance has recommended that we allocate about 3% towards long-term reserves. And so that's where that $89,000 is being sent to long-term reserves, plus the inactive revenue withdrawal from RSOs is also being sent to long-term reserves because it's a one-time, generally speaking, one-time thing. And then we have options Sorry, I can't really see the screen from there. Options G, and I'm going to skip option G, but option H, which would be 12%, 12.5% on the ballot, which would be 20% total. That would have us at level funding for agencies for other operating and SATF salaries, level funding for same funding for spring concerts, so 250, the same as this year. It would mean level funding, the same level that we're funding for RSOs. We'd be able to, if the Senate saw fit, increase the SGA's budget. Again, this is all draft proposals, so the actual amounts can be like shifted around. I don't know if you want to talk about potentially reasons for why the SGA budget would be expanding or not.
Just we can expand for payroll, new positions. I know the SGA, we're looking at creating a bunch of new positions next year. So those are some of the reasons. If we include funding the multicultural night, for example, because we haven't paid for that, just reasons like that. I don't foresee it expanding though anytime soon.
And then we would also be able to increase funding for agency and RSO emergency funding. So in theory, if we did a 50-50 split, we could do 10,000 for RSOs and 10,000 for agencies. And in capital improvement, we'd be doing 5,000. And so those are kind of the options on the table in terms of what our finances are looking like for the upcoming year. I didn't talk about I and J because those are higher options. And so that would require a lot more marketing. But definitely, if you guys have any questions, like please ask me right now. And I'm also always in the office, so you can also ask me. But this is a general breakdown of what our finances are looking like. And so that's why I want to give this presentation, not only to talk about the 7.5%, but what happens if there's no 7.5%, what happens if there's more, and kind of like going back to a conversation of what we are expecting out of the SATF, right? If we want our agencies to be able to fully support our students, provide students opportunities, and better support RSOs, then that does come with costs. And so I guess my question to you guys, because I'm only here to present the data, impartial data, you guys are the guys that are deciding. What do we want to do? Do we want to raise it? Do we want to keep it the same? And so that's kind of the conversation that we need to have, not only within this room, but with all of our stakeholders and agencies and with the student bodies as well. Forgot about this one. Sorry. So effects of raising it. So if the 7.5% increase passes tonight, what that would allow, as I stated earlier, is SATF salaries funded, but partial funding for operational budgets of agencies at about $180,000 short of where we need to be. Spring concert funding would be zeroed, so we'd not be funding spring concert at all. RSO, we'd have a reduction in RSO funding from last year by 30 grand. And then long-term reserves, as I said, we're allocating the 3% that SACO Finance recommends. And then for SGA, we'd have the same funding for FY27, so that means reduced hours, for everyone on payroll. Multicultural night would also be partially funded by DIA instead of through the SGA as well. So that means that RSOs who are applying for the DIA fund would be competing with the SGA for multicultural night. Okay, Q&A. I'll open up to questions.
What is some of the fallout from passing this?
Yeah, so some of the downsides potentially of passing 7.5 is obviously our tuition would be increasing for every student on campus. Obviously, no student wants an increase in tuition, especially right now with the cost of living continually increasing. So that is definitely a concern that is on my mind, as I'm sure with everyone else's mind here, as we're all students. Yeah, I don't.
No, I mean, I think you hit that's kind of like the main point. I would just argue that I think the downside of not passing it is worse than if, let me restart. I think the downside is if we don't pass this, I think it's worse than if we pass it. And I think there's two main reasons for that is A, students that make less than $75,000 can attend UMass tuition free. B, it's the one part of the tuition bill where if we increase it, there will be a direct benefit of services. Agencies will have more money to provide the services they provide for students. RSOs will have more money to put on their events and stuff like that. And we're also raising this to keep up with inflation, which we haven't done in many years.
Thank you.
If we do raise it, would it cover like the deficit that I guess would be caused from like the expenses and the revenue that we receive? Because it is like a pretty sizable like difference between the amount of expenses and revenue.
Could you clarify when you're asking about revenue?
Like I guess if we go back to the slides, I don't have it pull it up, but there's a slide. I think it's slide like 7. There's like a discrepancy between like revenue and expense, right? Would if we do raise the like SATF or like the fees to like I think 7.1%, would it cover the deficit, or would it like by a substantial amount, or like
Yeah, so to clarify, we're not in a deficit right now.
I meant
So-
the deficit between like
Oh, the discrepancy. Yeah. So the discrepancy there, like what would happen in our owed funding system is if RSOs, well, not if, when RSOs and agencies requested more than we had to allocate, we would do across the board cuts. And so RSOs would get their cut, and then agencies would, since it's a separate process, would go through their own separate across the board cut system. So that's what we've been historically doing in terms of that. And so I guess to answer your question, raising it 7.5 would cover the $66,000 that we had that we are short in terms of like how much we've the allocations for next year versus last year. However, that won't cover all of like the agency's operational budgets. Like I said, the spring concert, emergency funding, capital improvement, all those like funds that we have to support students. So 7.5 in itself, I guess, is not going to solve the issue, but it's definitely a step in the right direction that will make it easier, because if we pass the 7.5 here, that means it's less on the ballot, and that could potentially mean it is easier for us to do like outreach and marketing in terms of that. Does that answer your question?
I have one more question. So, hypothetically, if we were to pass a certain piece of legislation in the House or in the Senate that might contribute to like paying for like deferred maintenance to like the student union building, for example, would that free up more money or more revenue for agencies or for RSOs, for example?
Are you trying to say the Phenom bill that's trying to get the State House to cover the SATF debt from the student union?
Yes. Would it,
Well,
I guess, free up more money for agencies or RSOs?
That could potentially happen. B, I don't think we should count on the State House bailing the SGA out. I know that me, President Borowski, Darren, we're trying to work with Shelley Perdomo and other stakeholders to maybe see if we can refinance the student loan debt. What that means, not student loan, sorry, the student union debt. So of the $286, $100 of that goes to paying the student union. 2017, the SGA voted to raise the fee to pay for the new student union. That's why we have this building right now. So I would just say that although that would definitely help, give more net money to RSOs, I don't really see how that adds anything here, because all we're simply saying is that if we raise the fee, RSO is going to have more money. And so basically what this is basically saying, that RSOs used to request a bunch of more money than we had. So we continue to do across the board cuts. But because we're also going to have a new funding system next year of ad hoc funding, we're never going to go into like a deficit type scenario again. The lovely Vice President.
Thank you, Secretary Leone. I was just hoping that you could say the specific number increase, like in dollar amounts rather than percent.
Yeah. So no fee increase is obviously $0. 7.5% would be $21.45, so about $22. And then to put us, I guess, in sort of the bare minimum of like green territory, if we can, yeah, perfect. Which would be column like F. That would be about $43. But to put us somewhere like level funding, like to fully fund like what we're funding right now for like spring concert, for like help restoring the capital, help restore the RSO emergency fund and help launch the agency emergency funding and the capital improvement funding. That would be about 12.5% on the ballot, which would be, if you're including the 7.5 plus the ballot, would be 20% in total, which would be about $58 per academic year for every undergraduate student.
Can I say a statement? Thank you, Speaker. As a student who's here primarily, my tuition is entirely paid for by UMass grant. So I actually, as a student who can't really afford to go to college, I would not suffer any consequences of the SATF fee increasing because my grant would just cover it.
Yeah, I think a good point is that this is really a drop in the bucket of just $20, and it's really going to make a huge difference for all the RSOs, agencies, and everybody that receives SATF money. Cass, go ahead.
This isn't necessarily my opinion on this. I do think there's good points on both sides, but I do just want to point out the iClicker program is currently supporting students who are getting an iClicker instead of paying $16.99 for the app. So that is that's the decision there. So, you know, $20 isn't necessarily insignificant for some people.
Any more questions, anyone?
So this just kind of with like the spring concert. So even if like we increase it by 7.5%, we're still not funding the spring concert. So does that mean we're not gonna have a spring concert?
Yeah, so to clarify, this is like a draft of like what allocations could look like for the upcoming year. And so like this spring, we'll be doing budget voting with the agencies to hopefully have level funding with the MOUs. And basically with this new agency funding process, instead of our old process where it's like every single year they have to submit and then they go through across the board cuts, the idea and theory behind it is, okay, if we level fund our agencies for multiple years to have stable funding so they'll be able to operate efficiently, be able to support students better, that directly helps us as students because we get employment opportunities, we get to go to all these like cool events that are potentially culturally significant as well. And, you know, it really helps like with campus life in terms of that. But yeah, the zeroing of spring concert is like something that when I was making the draft, like these are all line items that we would be funding. So I'm just like basically Excel maxing and like moving numbers around in terms of like options. So.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right, great. Great job, guys. All right, before we get back to business, did anyone lose a ring? Somebody lose a ring? It's like, cool. Oh. All right. The Senate will be in order, and the Committee of the Whole previously called into session stands adjourned. So with that, we move on to our new business, and we'll start off with S56, an act to raise the student activities fee for FY27. This is sponsored by Chair Trong, President Borowski, Vice President Nalivo, Secretary Leone, Treasurer Mustafa, Chair Nguyen, and Chair Hood. And it was reviewed by the Committee on Ways and Means on February 9th and was reported with amendments. The chair will now read the motion in its entirety. Whereas the student activities fee is an annual $286 fee paid by undergraduate students at the University of Massachusetts Amherst to financially support 12 agencies, over 300 registered student organizations, student government association, and other projects such as student union renovations each academic year. Huh? Motion to suspend the rules to waive the reading of a motion in its entirety has been called. Is there a second? All right. Those in favor of waiving the reading, please say aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstaining say abstain. All right. I don't know. We're going to have to do hand raise. All right. Those in favor of waiving. All right. Motion is withdrawn. I'll go back to reading. Sorry, this is super loud. One second. Okay. Yes, so financially support 12 agencies, 300 RSOs, the Student Government Association, and other projects such as student union renovations each academic year through the recommendations made by the Senate Ways and Means Committee and approved by the University Undergraduate Senate. And whereas the SAF is the only mandatory fee paid by undergraduate students in which they have control over a recommended fee level and allocation thereof through the power of the Senate and the Senate Ways and Means Committee. And whereas Article 5, Section 4A of the SGA Constitution grants the Senate the power to review and make recommendations regarding the student activities fee. And whereas Title 6, Chapter 4, Section 2 of the SGA General Bylaws provides that a recommended fee increase at or below 7.5% requires a 2/3 majority vote of the Senate membership in attendance at a scheduled meeting. And whereas the transition of club sports funding has significantly reduced the strain placed on the Student Activities Trust Fund, SATF, and the implementation of Memoranda of Understanding, MOUs, with agencies ensure agencies are fully operational without across-the-board cuts occurring, while the adoption of an ad hoc funding model for RSOs prevents the accumulation of unused funds, as demonstrated by approximately $132,000 in unspent RSO funds returned to the prior fiscal year. And whereas despite these structural and fiscal reforms, inflationary pressures, comparatively lower net fee availability for RSOs relative to peer institutions, and the SGA's recent emergence from a projected budget deficit necessitates an increase in the student activities fee in order to prevent the erosion of the SATF's purchasing power due to inflation and to rebuild and maintain sufficient financial reserves to address emergency expenditures or unforeseen costs impacting agencies, the SGA, or RSOs. And whereas raising the SAF from $286 per academic year to $307 per academic year will bring in approximately $300,000 in additional allocations to establish student organizations on campus. Therefore, be it enacted under the provisions of Article 5, Section 4A of the UMass Amherst Student Government Association Constitution, the University Undergraduate Senate recommends that the student activities fee be increased by an additional $10.50 per semester, or $21 per academic year, just under 7.5%, totaling $307 per academic year, beginning in fiscal year 2027, which would be starting July 1st. Does the sponsorship wish for any additional factual description? Chair Trong?
Yeah, I would just like to add that the MOUs that we're pursuing with agencies in the new ad hoc model, that is somewhat contingent potentially on the fee increase in terms of the percentages as was presented during the presentation. And so depending on the passage or non-passage of the motion, that could potentially affect the process that we're going through with the agencies and RSOs. I would also like to add that I will be motioning to amend it to update a number that, upon checking again, was inaccurate.
Does any other sponsor wish to make further statements? Are there any further questions from the Senate for the sponsorship? All right. All right. If there's no further questions, I will entertain a second for the main motion. Second. Does there exist a need for debate?
Motion to amend.
Motion to amend has been called. What is the amendment?
To strike the section in the the fifth whereas statement, and strike approximately $132,000 and replace that with $324,000. Sorry, 324,389.
Do you want to strike the word approximately?
Correct.
Can you repeat the number, please?
324,389.
All right. Is there a second for the amendment? Does there exist a need for debate on the amendment? All right. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstaining say abstain. All right. The ayes have it and the amendment is adopted. Does there exist a need for debate on the main motion? With no indication of a need for debate, the motion is called and the question is on the passage of S56, an act to raise the student activities fee for FY27. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstaining say abstain. All right. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Sure. All right, thank you. Quiet, please. Quiet. The Senate will now consider Resolution 13, a resolution to reinstate Mitch Shakur to Director of Vocal Jazz Program and Interim Lecturer. The resolution is sponsored by Chair Kim. Sponsored by Chair Kim, Secretary Nevins, and Vice President Nalivo. The chair will now read the resolution in its entirety. Whereas,
Motion to suspend the rules so that the speaker does not have to read the entirety of the motion.
Motion to suspend the rules to waive the reading of a motion has been called. Is there a second? All right. Those in favor of waiving the reading, please say aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstaining say abstain. All right, the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The sponsorship is recognized for a brief factual description of the motion or the resolution.
Secretary Nevins can take care of all of this one.
All right.
If you were to go on to the SGA website and you were to look at our mission statement, that's comes up kind of right away. You open the website, boom, oh my gosh, there it is. One of the first things that it says is that it's our job to maintain a democratic system for undergraduate student governance. Students from the Vocal Jazz Ensemble, which Mitch Shakur is the director and interim lecturer for, reached out to me a couple weeks ago because they were concerned about a policy change that was affecting their program. Now, the policy change in question is a policy change in regard to the qualifications for an individual to be teaching at their capacity at the university. Now, it's either you have a master's degree or an equivalent outside experience. They got rid of that equivalency statement, and Mitch is no longer allowed to apply for his position. We gathered a petition together. We got 150 or so, it's a little bit over that, undergraduate students to sign this petition. And out from that petition has come this resolution. Merely, this resolution exists to support students, their decision-making, their ownership over their classes, and our dual governance and democratization on this campus. We are going to have a couple amendments come up onto this, and I would implore the Senate to listen to the entirety of the reading of the motion. I'm sorry, Sean. I know it's very long, but this is very important. One of our main duties is to advocate for the student body, and that's precisely what this is. We ought to hear them out. We ought to listen to them so that we can effectively represent them and advocate for them. Are there any questions? Sweet. Cass, I know you have some amendments that we agreed on.
Before we get into that, the chairs met to discuss this resolution and did invoke the consultation policy. However, as Jacob mentioned, he was able to get 150 undergraduate responses. So here they are. As you can see, the number for undergraduates is 152, so it clears. There's the results of the consultation. And if you want to just scroll through a couple of the comments.
And there are 3 of these comments are integrated into the resolution, which I hope we will be able to listen to when we finish with our amendments.
But yeah, we'll entertain the amendment now. Are there any questions of a factual nature in the meantime? Is there a second for the resolution?
Yeah, motion to amend.
Motion to amend has been called. What is the amendment?
There's a bit. We sent it to you. Right. It's on the second tab of the doc with the original resolution. So you just, it's going to say Cass's edits on it. We agreed on it. So, yeah. All right, the chair will now read the amended resolution. Whereas the University of Massachusetts Amherst has a responsibility to provide stable, high-quality instruction that allows students to grow, stay enrolled, and succeed in their programs. And whereas mentorship and continuity are of great importance to students in performance-based disciplines. And whereas students are raising a clear and urgent concern that Mitch Shakur may not be able to continue in his role because of a master's degree requirement, even though his teaching record, professional experience, and day-to-day impact on students demonstrate extraordinary qualifications for the work. And whereas students in the vocal jazz community are describing a concrete reality that matters to the Senate, which is that removing a teacher who is holding together learning, rehearsal culture, access to coaching, and student confidence is not an administrative detail. It is a direct hit to students' education. And
Whereas students describe that Mitch Shakur provides not only musical instruction, but also a culture of safety, belonging, and hands-on training, including vocal coaching, arranging, rehearsing vocal ensembles, and recording using a digital audio workstation, and that this instruction is being used daily by students in their own teaching and professional preparation. And whereas students describe that Mitch Shakur has expanded participation, increased the strength of ensemble work, made the Fine Arts Center a more welcoming place, and has personally invested time and resources far beyond what is typically expected, including providing equipment, showing up on off days, and supporting students' projects during winter break. And whereas this Senate recognizes that when students say someone is the reason they stayed at UMass, and when students say their education and future work depend on what they learn from that person, that is not merely anecdotal, but rather evidence of institutional impact. And whereas the following student testimony is included as part of the official record supporting this resolution and is reproduced verbatim with no edits. Quote, when I came to UMass, I was sure that I was going to transfer out of the school. It was people like Mitch who made me want to stay and had me realize that music was what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I have learned more from Mitch Shakur in one semester than from any other professor/teacher I've ever had. The school would be remiss to let someone of his teaching ability, talent, and life experience go without doing everything possible to keep him on staff. Actions like these are what make people think that the arts are dying in schools and among youth. Mitch Shakur is someone I am lucky to know, and I'm truly sorry for any person who may never have the chance to meet him and learn from him. Truly one of the most formative people in my life." End quote. Quote, Mitch has truthfully been an amazing mentor and has taken me under his wing these past few years. The love and care he has for us is unparalleled by any professor at this school. He gives us equipment, comes in on days he doesn't have to, and shows up when it counts. Over winter break, Mitch came in every day to help me and my band, made up of all UMass students, record an album. He gave us equipment from his personal collection and taught us how to work all of it. No other professor here, from what I've seen, has gone that extra mile. For me, Mitch is my family away from family, and I know I could give him a call at any time of the day and he would be there. As an educator, he has taught us all so much. I've improved musically, of course, but I've learned that what it means to be a good person and what it means to take care, to care about what you do with all of your heart. This school is making a huge mistake by not letting him come back because of a degree, end quote. Quote, it is often said that a music degree is just a piece of paper. What Mitch Shakur lacks in a master's degree, he makes up for with a rich career of music performance and education spanning 5 decades. He has worked with a long and star-studded list of musicians such as B.B. King, James Brown, and Bonnie Wright, to name a few. Mitch has honed every aspect of his craft as a performer and has mentored countless young musicians who go on to lead their own successful careers. You would be hard-pressed to find anyone more qualified for this position than Mitch Shakur. However, none of the above speaks to who Mitch is as a person. Mitch's passion for music permeates everything he does. He tackles rehearsals with humor and humility that are otherwise scarce in the music program. Because of this, the vocal jazz ensemble has nearly tripled in is size under his direction. During private lessons, Mitch's ability to create a safe and nurturing environment allows his students to make mistakes and grow from them. He places endless faith and encouragement in every student, regardless of their experience and skill level. These traits make Mitch an incredibly effective educator. I can confidently state that I have learned much more from him than from any other professor in the program. On top of this, Mitch has made the Fine Arts Center a warmer and more welcoming place. His door is always open to talk, eat lunch, or just relax. He is always willing to help others, often overextending himself to do so. His constant generosity and graciousness benefit every person in the building. For me personally, Mitch enthusiastically gave me weekly vocal lessons for 2 semesters, allowed me to perform as a soloist in several concerts, provided feedback for my compositions and arrangements, went out of his way to record and run sound for my senior recital, and allowed my band to use his equipment and tear apart his office to record an album. All this, even though I'm not a jazz voice major. A professor's job, especially in music, is to equip every student to be successful in their field. Mitch is a perfect model of this. Speaking as a music education major currently completing student teaching, Mitch has provided me with valuable skills I need to teach my students effectively. Without his wisdom, guidance, and experience, I would be a far worse musician and a far worse educator. Skills I learned directly from Mitch, such as vocal coaching, creating arrangements, rehearsing vocal ensembles, and recording using digital audio workstation, I have used daily when working with my students. If it hasn't already been painfully obvious, Mitch Shakur, despite his lack of a master's degree, is completely overqualified for his position. He has endless musical experience, both in performing and teaching. As a professor, he supports every student in every way he can, preparing all of us for successful careers. Mitch can get incredible results while also allowing the vocal jazz ensemble to be a fun environment. Since he began at UMass, every single vocal jazz concert has had a packed audience, and his showmanship makes each night unforgettable. It would be a major disservice to every student if Mitch Shakur were unable to continue here. P.S. The UMass Jams program always loves to mention that the legendary jazz drummer Max Roach was once a faculty member here. Max Roach never received a master's degree and famously attributed his education to the Conservatory of the Street. End quote. Therefore, be it resolved that the University Undergraduate Senate affirms a basic principle that student outcomes and instructional quality must be central in staffing decisions, especially in programs where professors' experience in their field is a vital element of their curricula and student outcome. And be it further resolved that the University Undergraduate Senate calls on university leadership, the College of Humanities and Fine Arts, and the Department of Music and Dance to take immediate steps to ensure the continuity of vocal jazz instruction and return to their previous policy regarding the requirement of a master's degree for professors, and allow Mitch Shakur to continue to apply each year for his position to the department. And be it further resolved that the University Undergraduate Senate calls for clear transparency to the affected students about what requirements are being applied, what the decision timeline is, and what specific options the university is actively pursuing to avoid disruptions to us ensembles, private instruction, and student degree progress. And be it further resolved that the University Undergraduate Senate urges the university to formalize a written artist educator equivalency process for performing arts appointments that evaluates extensive professional experience, documented teaching outcomes, and demonstrated student impact as a rigorous standard alongside traditional credentials. And be it further resolved that the University Undergraduate Senate directs the appropriate Senate committees or committees, wow, I said the same thing twice, including the Committee on Academic Oversight, to gather additional testimony from students, meet with departmental and college leadership, and provide a public update to the student body as soon as practicable, given the performance and academic calendar. And be it furthest resolved that copies of this resolution be transmitted to the Office of the Chancellor, the Office of the Provost, the Dean of the College of Humanities and Fine Arts, and the Chair of the Department of Music and Dance.
Thank you, Ishan.
The sponsorship is recognized for a factual description of the amendment.
I mean, basically, it's mostly just like grammar changes. There's some conversation about like specific committees, like toward the end.
Yeah.
So clearly, I think if you're talking about academic matters and like Senate committees, I think it's like pretty clear who you're talking about. So might as well just put my name on there.
Darn it.
And then, yeah, overall, I think my idea for this amendment is also that the emphasis should be more on the fact that like we, the student body, like the student Senate, don't believe that having a master's or not having a master's is like the determining factor of whether or not you should be a faculty member, like more so than saying like one specific person should be reconsidered and reinstated at UMass. It should be a little more like a more general thing of like, this happened, this is evident of a problem, and we should obviously be supporting this situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's, yeah.
Any questions? Secretary Leone? After this motion to amend passes. Is there a second for the amendment? Does there exist a need for debate? With no indication, the amendment is called. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstaining say abstain. All right, amendment adopted. Yeah, what was your question, Secretary Leone? Go ahead.
Yeah, wow, it's pretty loud. I support this. Oh, my laptop picture of Epstein just popped up. Anyways, sorry about that. A little distracted there. Can you just talk a little more about like why the university made this master's degree requirement change? Like who was consulted on that change, who was not consulted, but like was, for example, like the graduate student government consulted, GO? Can you just like elaborate more on that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I sit on the Academic Matters Council. So does Cass. That did not pass through that body. I've reached out to the Faculty Senate to see if they were consulted and what they've been doing. But as far as I'm aware, I didn't see anything before this happened. Cass has any more that they would like to add?
Yeah, from what I've seen about these kinds of changes, if it's up to an individual college leadership, they can do what they want. They don't mean, that's arguable. Like, can they not? The provost office might have some words for them, but overall, they make executive decisions on their own, and they don't necessarily have to go through faculty senates formally. So this is not something that anyone was really notified of until after it happened. So as the students, we don't really have a voice in the actual process, only in the results of that.
As a follow-up question, so do we know if the decision by the college was just bar master's students from being in this position, or is the person like not allowed in a position because the position pays like a full tuition waiver for master's students through an assistantship? Is that part of it, or?
No, it's adding. It was 2 qualifications. You must have a master's degree or an equivalent experience, and they got rid of equivalent experience, essentially making it that you have to have a master's degree to teach for this position.
This is something that multiple departments have been considering doing. From what I've heard, my time in this position, I've never seen it in this form, this result, but it is something that is being discussed because a master's degree is a higher standard than a bachelor's degree. So if you're saying you want to give your students the best education, that is an argument for why they are deciding that. But yeah, so it's across the board. A lot of these decisions might come up in the future as well.
Any further questions? All right, second was already received, I believe. Does there exist a need for debate on this resolution? With no indication of a need for debate, the resolution is called and the question is on the passage of Resolution 13, a resolution to reinstate Mitch Shakur to Director of Vocal Jazz Program and Interim Lecturer. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Those abstaining, say abstain. All right, the ayes have it and the resolution is passed. All right, that concludes our business, and I'll try to get us out of here as quick as we can. So, Trustee Marino, do you have a report to give?
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to let everyone know that I will be having my monthly meeting with the Chancellor next week. So if anyone has any questions that they would like me to ask him, come up to me so I can put it on my agenda with him. That agenda goes out Friday, but like if you can't think of anything till next week, my meeting with him is on Friday next week. So just let me know.
Thank you. Core 4, any reports? President Borowski, go ahead.
Sorry, guys. I do indeed have business for you. So other than attending some source council meetings, the day-to-day operations, and getting the agencies ready for the new funding model, I have a call to arms for you all. So as you've heard, the BRIGHT Act is currently working its way through the Massachusetts State Legislature. It would, at present, provide $3.65 billion to the public universities and community colleges of Massachusetts for deferred maintenance and new construction. Right now, UMass clearly has some deferred maintenance. There's roaches in Bartlett, stank in Mackmer, and moral is so scary I skip all my classes in it. As this policy that would touch our campus, it's only right that we have a say in it. That's why I, alongside some campus partners, are advocating for 3 big amendments to this bill, raising the amount from $3.65 billion to $4 billion, money that would do a lot for our campus and would come from the millionaire's tax, making sure this money goes to students as well as administration. We pay for 66% of the mortgage of this building. We are an equal partner in building control on this campus. We deserve to be treated like it. Democratizing the campus master plan. We are the stakeholders in this university. We deserve a seat at the table as they plan for UMass of the future. Quick show of hands. Who wants a 5th dining hall? Okay. Who wants more housing? Are we getting either of those right now? No. Ain't that something? So I am incredibly grateful to the students who have already expressed interest in assisting in these efforts, especially UMass Phenom, who has been leading it. If you are interested in exercising your democratic rights as a student, citizen, and officer of the SGA and lobbying our government to look out for us, please look out for a spreadsheet I will be sending out later for you all to fill out so we can cover as many members of the Massachusetts State Legislature as possible and make this happen. Every student-led organization and effort on this campus has been led by the drive to create things that last beyond ourselves and leave this campus better than we found it. So please, do that. Again, if you're interested, check your email or reach out to me. That's all I have for you. Thank you guys for bearing in mind with this very long meeting.
Hi, my name's Gianna. we're going to revisit this at the end of the academic year and at the end of our terms. But I just want to acknowledge two of our secretaries whose terms are finished at the end of this week. So I wanted to congratulate Dale Leone, who's not in here right now, but also wanted to congratulate Charlotte Hogan. Charlotte Hogan's position is going to be transferred over because she is studying abroad in Australia. She's done a great job of accommodating us so far, but the 16-hour ahead time difference is just a little bit too much. So we thank her so much for her dedication to this organization and to the student body. And we do the same for Dale. Dale's circumstance is a little different. He has graduated, so congratulations to Dale. I'm sure he will clip this on the recording next to a highlight reel of his career here in the SGA. I know you guys love those videos. Don't even laugh about it. But I just wanted to thank them again for their commitment to this organization and to the university, and we will celebrate them again at the end of the year. But just a special shout out to them.
He comes back. Everybody clap. Don't say why.
Thank you, guys. Cabinet, anything? Brief, important updates, please. Chief of Staff Martin, go ahead.
You may have already got an email from me, or you'll get one at the end of this week if you are listed on a faculty senate or an SAB. I hope that if you have it in room in your schedule right now, you've attended the first meetings. If not, we're going to reorganize, and if you can no longer sit on that committee, you will be reassigned. So I'll also be sending out emails to fill positions, and probably next week, hopefully have everyone reaffirmed. So thank you.
How old are they? 23? They're almost done.
Happy birthday to you.
Well, happy birthday, dude. Anyone from Faculty Senate or ESO events, SABs? Any reports? Secretary Nevins, go ahead.
This is quick. It's not a report. I forgot to say it during announcements. The Hunger Free Campus Advocacy Day, RSVP, is up with Mass Perg. It's on March 12th, Thursday. It is so unbelievably important that we stay super involved in this initiative. About 1/3 of the undergraduate body on this very campus is food insecure. 43% of the graduate student body is food insecure. It is our job to make sure that the legislature knows that this is an issue. We are the flagship campus in Massachusetts, and 1/3 of the undergraduate population cannot afford to feed themselves. That is ridiculous, and we need to change that. So RSVP and go there and tell them that directly, because you're elected officials and they're your elected officials. Send it up the chain. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Reeb, you're recognized.
I went to the Commonwealth Honors College Faculty Senate last week, and they received an update from their Murray professor, which is a 2-year position, and he's spearheading awareness about methods of discovery for seniors completing their honors thesis, which should be interesting, but it's pretty much all from that.
Cool. Chairs, anything? JD, anything? All right, cool. Are there any other motions on the floor? Any business not anticipated? All right, we'll conduct the ending roll call.
Senator Bauman. Senator Bauman absent. Senator Blair. Senator Blair present. Senator Breen. Senator Breen absent. Senator Calvo. Senator Calvo present. Senator Chamu. Senator Chamu present. Senator Chaparro. Senator Chaparro present. Senator DeRiggi. Senator DeRiggi absent. Chair Dami. Chair Adami present. Senator Faciso. Senator Faciso present. Senator Haycock. Senator Haycock absent. Senator Ercole Espinal. Espinal absent. Okay. Senator Hiranandani. Senator Hiranandani present. Chair Hood. Chair Hood absent. Senator Huang. Senator Huang present. Senator Kanan. Senator Kanan present. Senator Keel. Senator Keel present. Senator Kennedy. Kennedy absent. Chair Kim. Chair Kim present. Senator Goisen. Senator Goisen present. Senator Lamore. Senator Lamore absent. Senator Malari. Senator Malari absent. Senator Mari. Senator Mari absent. Senator Martos. Senator Martos present. Senator Meesum. Senator Meesum present. Chair Mello. Chair Mello present. Senator Morales-Aquino. Senator Morales-Aquino present. Senator Nalivo. Senator Nalivo present. Senator Ng. Senator Ng present. Chair Nika. Chair Nika present. Senator Meshwa Patel. Ramesh Patel absent. Senator Rahi Patel. Senator Rahi Patel absent. Senator Reeb. Senator Reeb present. Senator Rogers. Senator Rogers absent. Senator Roy. Senator Roy absent. Senator Saini. Saini absent. Senator Schuette. Senator Schuette present. Senator Siegel. Senator Siegel present. Senator Sun. Senator Sun present. Chair Seversky. Chair Seversky present. Senator Taki. Senator Taki present. Senator Toswani. Senator Toswani absent. Senator Tao. Senator Tao absent. Senator Tick. Senator Tick present. Senator Torngrip. Senator Torngrip present. Chair Trong. Chair Trong present. Senator Vlatka. Senator Vlatka present. Senator Valencia Gallego. Senator Valencia Gallego present. Senator Vender Wilson. Senator Vender Wilson present. Senator Verma. Senator Verma absent. Senator Walker Hoover. Senator Walker Hoover absent. Senator Wu. Senator Wu present. Senator Golu. Senator Golu present.
All right, you guys know what to do. Chair Trong, is there a second? All right, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. Those abstaining say abstain. All right, meeting adjourned. Good night, guys. We made it out before 9.